you, IFFI, for having me here, and thank you for having me have this masterclass with one of my favorite actors. And I'm not kidding because I've told her this herself, Rani Mukerji. How many of you here are budding actors? Give me a shout. Okay, good. So maybe you'll get something to, you can get some private lessons from here. Rani, welcome to IFFI. And
thank you so much. Hi, everybody. It's really wonderful to be in the midst of cinema enthusiasts, people who love cinema, because I do too. And it's wonderful to have an audience waiting to hear us talk about cinema. So it's absolutely amazing. And really, no tips here. I always tell people who want to be actors, just be yourself and you'll be special.
Now, it is no accident that this conversation is happening, because there aren't many actors with this kind of longevity. And when I say actors, I mean especially actresses in the industry, because this is not an industry that treats actresses kindly. Actors become, till they're 60, 70, they keep having, leading men images. But you have carved out for yourself a brand, Rani. And I want you to talk a little bit about how did that happen, consciously, unconsciously, because even this year, you delivered a hit in the form of Mrs. Charity versus Norway. And you're the only female actor who has her own franchise, the Mardani series. So how does one go beyond the ageism and all the other things that actresses typically have to put with in India and stay a compelling brand like Rani Mukerji?
I think the easiest answer here would be that's how my audience has loved me and accepted me over the years. So they have in fact helped me to break this ageism barrier, and I will promise to my audience that I will work till I'm 80 for sure. I'm not hanging up my boots. Because for an actor, I don't think an actor should be judged by an actor's age. I think it's only because our cinema is known as popular cinema, and you want to see young people on screen all the time, because that's what compels the youth to kind of go and watch. The trick is also to kind of not be in a delusional, warped land of your own and believe that you're always going to be young. You can be young at heart, but to accept your age and to accept roles that suit your age is also important for the audience to accept you in those kind of characters. So it has always been a conscious decision of mine to be able to give my audience something that will be palpable for them as well. Like if I had to play a college student today, I could play a college student, but I have to also show them that I'm a mother and I'm at an age of 40, and I've probably decided to go back to college at this age, because there's so many people who kind of go back to college and study, say, media, or they study other things much later. So you have to give them a logical reason as to why you're playing that particular part and what is your age in that part.
Right.
Also, when I played Hitchki, I also played a 60-year-old, in the last scene, 60, 65-year-old. So these are all challenges that an actor takes up to look older. But similarly, when an actor takes a challenge to look younger, it's always ridiculed upon, because you don't want the same actor to try and tell the audience that I'm young. So it's also important to accept who you are, what you are, how you're aging, and also you have to look after yourself and look good for the audience. So my entire life's focus is to look like how I used to look 20 years ago, and keep looking like this all my life, and have a good lifestyle, have a healthy lifestyle, and maintain that. Because when an audience pays money to come and see your work, they also want to see a nice looking face, They don't want to see a face that's completely tired and, So yeah, so hence I also take intervals and do my work, because the audience has kept me going for last 27 years, and I'm hoping that the same audience keeps me going for the next 27.
Yeah. Rani, one of the special things about your career is the way you've chosen roles, or maybe the roles came that way. I don't know how to put that.
Yeah.
But there are obviously some roles that are quote-unquote young, like Bunty or Bubbly, for instance, because that's a young person with dreams and things like that, Pasitna Sa Khwaab Hai, those kinds of films. But there are many roles, even when, like you said 20 years ago, that where you could have been in indeterminate age, where your age was not as important as the character. I'm talking about Black. That character could have been 20 years older and you would have still had the same journey. Savaria. You could have been an older version of the person that you played, of the sex worker, of Gula. You could have, if we are talking about Yuva, again, you could have been an older version of the thing. Is there also something that helped audiences along with this, and this transition was a little easier to, now when you do a Mardani, it's not a surprise anymore because Rani has always been somebody who's transcended age. Is that maybe something of it?
Yeah, and I think my height helps it. Because I'm not too tall. So I kind of fit into, maybe I can fit into this chair also if I had to fold my legs and sit. So I think my height also helps that. Also because I think Bengalis have a certain genes. After eating fish and rice. No, to be serious on this, I think on my third film itself, Kuch Kuch Hota, I played a mom. And I continued playing mother roles even when I was in my 20s, which is with Tararampam. I played a mother of 2 children. So I think continuously, I've tried to not give importance to the age factor of the character, and I've tried to give justice to the role that I've played, so that when an audience is watching me on screen, they don't think of Rani Mukerji as in who I am, but they actually see my character and they believe that I'm that character.
Right.
So if I'm playing Shashi from Yuva, they believe that I am Shashi and not Rani Mukerji. And I work hard towards making those characters different in terms of how they look, how they talk, how they walk, because I do believe body language also makes a lot of difference in terms of how you perceive a particular person, because we all are so diverse, in our own ways. We are Indian, but we still are very diverse. No 2 people will be alike. So I think it's important to also be different in your roles in terms of how you look. And I always believe that 50% of your battle as an actor to make people believe who you are is your appearance.
Right.
So if you look the character, then half the battle is won with your part. And then the other half is how you perform.
Right.
So I think that makes a character very compelling for me in terms of an audience to believe. So I can also be a Tina. At the same time, I can be Alisha from Gulam. I can also be, say, Riya Kapoor from Hum Tum. And I can also be like Michelle McNally from Black.
Yeah.
So you see there are different looks with all. And of course, with Dil Bole Haripa, where I play a boy.
Yeah. Was there any role that came to you and I'm thinking of Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, which is one of my favorite performances of yours. And I think what is a rather underrated film, because for its time, that kind of role where you are in an adulterous relationship, not because your husband is beating you, but because just you're incompatible.
Yeah, my choice.
It's just a different kind of a thing. So, has there been any film like that where you got the thing and you said, okay, this is a great role, but I'm not sure I want to do this. I don't know if the audience will, it'll go well with the audience.
So actually, the confidence that I get towards a particular character also comes within me spontaneously. I do remember when I was narrated Hum Tum, Adi and Kunal, who are my producer and director at that point of time, they were convinced that I would say no to the script. That's also because of the last scene, because it was one of a kind where a woman takes a call with the man and says, it's fine that I've, had I've made love with you, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to marry you because of that. We need to marry for the right reasons. And I think that was very path-breaking at that point of time, because those kind of scenes or those kind of roles for women were not being made, where the woman takes charge and says that it's fine, it's not a big deal, but we need to marry for the right reason. And for some reason, they really thought that I wouldn't get it. But when I did accept the role and I said, I love Hum Tum and I love the way the character turns out, they were also pretty shocked with my decision. Because maybe I gave the impression that I'm very conservative, or I come from a family where like I might not be able to accept something like that. But I think it was because I'm today's woman, and I've always tried to portray strong Indian women characters, because I think abroad when people see our films, it is a window towards what India is through our characters, and they get to know how India is at that point of time. And for me, it's a responsibility when people see our films abroad, that how are they viewing Indian women, through our characters. So I always want to portray Indian women as the best and strong and powerful, and that's what I've done with my roles, very, very consciously. Even with Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, I think it was very important to talk about a woman's want and a woman's choice, because just because the husband doesn't beat you does not mean that the husband is really good with you in bed, or you are in love with him. And I think people give less importance to when it comes to a woman being in love. That is just not important. What is important during marriage for a lot of people and their families mostly is if the man is settled, if he comes from a good family. But the physical aspect or the physical chemistry is not given too much into account. It's like a man can choose that, but that's okay. That's fine. So a woman is never allowed or is never asked a question that, are you attracted to this man? Would you like to marry him? And in the case of Maya's character, I think what was beautiful was she loved Rishi's character, which is played by Abhishek. She loved him as well, but she loved him in a different capacity, as a friend. But what she found in Shah Rukh's character, Dev, was the romance that she was always pining for. Right. And I think that was wonderful. And with Karan, he was bold enough to make a film like that at the time when he wasn't sure what was happening. But I think it's important to always stand by strong films and strong roles. Sometimes you might not get the kind of audience that it has, but I think in the history of Indian cinema, it will always be remembered as a film that was always ahead of its times. And I think what happened with Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna is, after the film there were a lot of divorces. And it was a lot of people going to the theatre, watching the film in extreme discomfort, because nobody wants to face the reality of their own lives. And I think that is the feedback that Karan got after the film. And I think it opened eyes for a lot of people, and people took a decision of being happy. And very different from what we are taught in our culture, that we have to compromise, we have to adjust. And of course we have to. But we can also adjust when there is love in a relationship. When you don't have love, then it's very difficult to adjust. So it's very important to be able to respect your partner, to be able to love your partner, and to have that companionship. Then compromising and adjusting is easy. Right. Because even in a relationship of love, there will be compromise, there will be adjustment. So in a marriage, it is very, I would say, demanding. And if you are in a marriage which is a loveless marriage, then it gets even more difficult.
Right. So Rani, when you speak of the word performance drops a lot, the point is, at what point did you start noticing performances? Because when we're younger, when you watch movies, most of the time we watch it like a story. At what point did you look at something? Maybe it was on TV, or maybe it was on a big screen or something. At what point did you say, oh my God, I really like what this particular person is doing?
When I saw Leader, which was directed by my father.
Vaijayantimala's performance?
Yes.
Okay.
No, Dilip Kumar and Vaijayantimala.
Okay.
And when I saw Dilip Kumar's performance in the film, and you always think of Dilip Kumar as, the king of tragic, and the king of drama, and he's known to do films like that. And when I saw Leader and I saw his performance, I was blown. His charm, the way he did the comic scenes, it just blew my mind. And I remember watching it as a kid, and obviously I was taken in by the grandeur of the film and the bigness of the film, and of course Vaijayanti Mala's dances and all of those lovely romantic scenes and this beautiful song which was shot in front of the Taj Mahal. But when my dad passed, and on each of his birthday, I make it a point to see his film, with my entire family. And when I saw Leader recently, I was just blown. I was like, oh my God, that's why Dilip Kumar is Dilip Kumar, because the idea of being an actor, I think for a lot of actors comes from him. So, yeah, Dilip Kumar, hands down.
So when you say a good actor, do you mean that they should be able to do the range that is...
Yeah, for me, versatility is very important, because I do believe that if an actor is able to be versatile, that shows the different facets of different people, because at the end of the day as actors, we are portraying different people in cinema. Every story is about characters. So we are characters in the film. And the more diverse you can make those characters, it's more interesting also for the audience as well as for me. Like, I would be bored if I had to play something like who I am in all my films. But the energy I get is through the characters that I'm playing. Like, they inspire me. Like Shivani Shivaji Roy's character inspires me, inspires Rani Mukerji the person. So for me to play Shivani is already very inspiring, and I'm trying to be who I never got a chance to be in my personal life. Like, I can't be a cop, right? But it gives me immense pleasure to play her. And to be able to play Shivani in a way that is very real, taking instances from real life police officers, that is my kick as an actor. To be able to perform different characters and give them different images. That is something that I really, really get inspired from personally.
Do you remember your first day of shooting? Did it go well?
First day of shooting? I do actually remember it very, very clearly. So it was the Mahurat shot for my film Raje Ki Aagi Barat. And so it was actually, we were on a platform, not like this, it was a much lower platform, and it was a Mahurat being performed. Because in those days, there used to be a lot of Mahurats, and on the Mahurat day, the producers used to, invite other people from the industry, and it would be like, because now you have social media where films are announced. Before that, there was nothing like that. So to announce a film that started, the Mahurat days were really, really important, because that's the day when the industry knew that a film is starting. And I do remember, I was wearing this wedding outfit, this pink wedding outfit with full dupatta, and I was, I think I was 16. It was supposed to be this long dialogue which I had really, really mugged up, and I took my skills of being a good history student and my mugging up skills, and I actually mugged up the dialogue which was about a page, and it was my Mahurat, and I was really nervous, and I was like, oh my God, and I never ever wanted to be an actor. It was just something that I was doing out of being a good daughter, because my mom said, you have to just, give it a try and do this. And I was like, I'm doing this, I have to do this to the best of my capability. That was me as a student, that I have to do this well. And there were a lot of people in the audience, seniors, and so many people from family, friends, and everybody was watching. And it was the first time that I was getting exposed to an audience that I didn't know of completely. And I was supposed to say these lines, and I've never done like stage plays in school. So I don't, I used to do classical dancing, so I'm used to a stage performance, but not like delivering lines. And I also had a little stammering problem. So I was like, oh my God, I hope I don't start stammering. So I had all these fears in my heart, and I was wondering what's going to happen. And I realized that the minute the director said, lights, camera, action, and after action, the way I started delivering my lines, it just came very naturally to me. And it got over, and everybody started clapping, and I was like, really? Did I just say my lines? And I was actually in shock, that I actually did it. And then something in my heart, like my instinct or like my inner voice, told me that you can do this. You know, it's not such a big deal that you made. I think, you know, if you do something with your heart and if you actually believe in what you're doing, I think, and if you remove that fear, you know, the stage fright, I think it comes naturally. So on that day, I think I in a way decided that, yeah, maybe I'm made to do this. Like I'm born to do this.
Lovely. Now, I'm going to ask you about one internal performance of yours and one external performance. The external one is, of course, Dil Bole Hadipa, because that's such a, you have to do a lot of things externally. I want you to kind of just take us through how that happened. And internally, I would love to know how you approached the role in one of your most beautiful films, Paheli, because you're acting, what you're doing, having as a psychological dilemma of whether this man is your husband or not. Because he looks the same, but he does not, and you're not verbalizing it, because Amol Palekar's films are always very, they're not, you know, they don't put out everything, they don't spoon feed. So I would like to know how you approach that performance and this performance.
I think firstly, to feel love for somebody like Shah Rukh comes very easily to me. You know, when he's on set, you know, there is a certain comfort that I feel because I started my career with him. So there's a lot of love that, of course, I have for him and he has for me. So it's always very comfortable on set. Also, I think the character of Lachi was very beautiful. You know, it was a folklore, and just the fact that it was again a character which defied what people in that background era feel. You know, again, it was about doing what she wanted to do. It was her will, her want, her choice. And I think she brought a lot of strength, inner strength, through her character, because it's not easy for women to get a choice to choose, you know, because they are married off into a family and they're expected to start a life and to make everybody happy in their sasural, so to speak. So I think Lachi brought a lot of depth, a lot of strength, and a lot of love, you know. The fact that she recognizes the love over the fact that he could be anybody. He was a ghost in the film, but he could have been anybody. But the fact that she allowed herself to go ahead with that love story, I think that makes Lachi very, very special in the place that she comes from, you know. And for me, as I told you, I'm always inspired by strong women characters. So for me, that maybe comes very naturally to me. You know, whenever I am supposed to show a woman of strength, that comes very naturally to me. And I am very, very, like I get attracted towards those kind of character and roles. And of course, Dil Bole Hadipa, I had to put on a beard. With all the men in the audience, I have to say, you guys are really brave to have facial hair. And to really groom it every day and to look after it, I think it really takes a lot of guts. And I experienced that in Dil Bole Hadipa because I played a boy, a Sardar boy. And I have to say that every morning I had to, you know, put glue and I had to stick a beard. And it was one of the most horrifying things for a woman to do. And no, but I really enjoyed playing Veer Pratap Singh. It was amazing because that I do believe is one of my most underrated performances, and I really had a fun time playing the Sardar boy because there's so much of humor that Veer brought in, you know. And yes, apart from the physical aspect of wearing that beard and being in 35 degrees heat in Bombay and playing cricket, apart from that, everything else was wonderful.
Is there any film that you regret turning down?
I've actually never regretted anything because I do believe that every film belongs to the actor that it goes to eventually. We might keep saying that, oh, we missed the part, or, you know, this role was offered to me, but it's actually just a waste because what eventually an audience gets to see is the film that you actually did. So it's pointless talking about these films that were a miss, you know, that you didn't go to do. The only film that I can say that was unfortunate that I couldn't be part of was Lagan, because because there was a particular date clash, and Amir was turning producer with the film. And he said that, Rani, I'm shooting this film in a particular way, so I want all my actors in this particular place for 6 months in Bhuj and not move, because I wanted everybody to be there. You know, he had this particular way. And I had already signed a film before that, which was about 20 days, you know, and Amir was like, you know, Rani, I won't be able to let you come back even for those 10 or 15 days, because it would be unfair for me not to let the others, you know, travel back and forth. And I also asked the other producer that, you know, would you be okay if I left the film, because I would really like to do Amir's film, because he's a close friend of mine. I really want to do this film with Ashu Bhaiya, because, you know, I really want to be part of Lagan, Amir's first production. But the producer refused to let me go. I won't take the name of the producer, of course. But it was very sad. And then Amir said that, Rani, it was such a sad thing, because I myself traveled to Bombay some 20 times. And it never really happened, you know. So, and there were a lot of actors that did go back and forth during the shoot of the film. But I guess at the start of he was trying to do something, and that was very unfortunate. But I think anybody who does any role, I think they deserve it and they do the part really, really well. Right. So I don't want to get into that, but since you asked the question, I had to say it.
Lovely. So I've gotten a signal that we should turn over the session to the audience, because you're here with us for a very short time. So we can take a couple of questions.
Getting interviewed by Mr. Bharadwaj Rangwan. As you all know, he's one of the finest critics that we have today in India. And it's so amazing and refreshing to talk to a person who actually asks you about your craft and not other things. So thank you, Bharadwaj.
Thank you so much
for that.
Hi Rani, kuch hota hai. I feel black, but I feel black is more interesting, and the way you have acted out. My question is, in black, how was your experience?
My experience was amazing, because I was playing Michelle McNally, and before that I didn't have an experience of how it is to be, you know, not being able to see, not being able to hear, not being able to talk. It was for the first time that I was getting introduced to people who had these challenges in their life, and that actually made a huge difference to me in my personal life, because I suddenly started to have gratitude for just the very basic things in life that we take for granted. You know, the fact that I'm able to communicate with you guys so easily is because I'm able to speak. The fact that I'm able to hear something very clearly is again something that we might take for granted. And I was thinking that in life it's very important to be grateful for whatever we have. And Black really taught me that when I met them. And what is extremely touching for me was the fact that they were very self-reliant, they were very, very comfortable in their own skin, and they're very confident. And what drove me crazy was the fact that they also knew how to work on a normal computer, you know. And for me, that was achieving the impossible, you know. And I realized that there's nothing in life that is impossible. It's that we condition ourselves to believe that something we cannot do. But I don't think that should be our attitude. Our attitude in life should be we have to make this possible. And I think for me, Black did that. It really transformed me as a human as well. And it really helped me become a better human being. And what else can I say about Michelle's character? And of course, the director of the film, Sanjay Leela Bhansali. He really makes it a point to really take the best out of you and come with a film that really, really makes the audience, you know, transported to this world that he creates by himself. So I think that's a really special quality that Sanjay has. So yes, of course, Black is one of the films that is very close to my heart.
And just to add, I don't think any cinematographer has shot Rani as well as Ravi K. Chandran has.
Yes,
so
absolutely. I love you, Ravi.
My question is, how do you prepare yourself? Like how you said that when we look at your performances, it's not Rani Mukerji, it is that character. How do you manage to do it especially roles in black or hitchki, which is, you know, it's not our normal life.
Yes. I think which is where a challenge for me comes as an actor, because that is something that challenges me, and that's what starts the trigger of me to think, what can I do? You know, I always observe people around me. I also observe the people who do have that life, which is normal for people who have that life. So I kind of observe them, I kind of take certain traits from them, use some characteristics, borrow something from them, and I imbibe that into the character that I'm playing. So for Naina, I also had to meet a lot of people who have Tourette syndrome. You know, I also did an interview with Brad Cohen, who was actually the person whose life Hitchki was inspired from. So it's very important to also understand emotionally what these people go through, because to play a character, when we are playing the physical aspect, it's also very important to know what that person thinks or how the person feels emotionally, because at the end of the day we are portraying emotions of those characters as well, which is what touches you eventually in a film. So it's very important for me to understand mentally or emotionally what these people feel, think, how they react to different situations, so I can imbibe that into the role and I can take that as an example. So if I have a scene in the film that can depict a similar emotion, it kind of coincides, and then I can put that into the particular scene. And so as an audience, you actually, when you're seeing me perform, you're actually feeling my emotion more than even seeing me perform. Because performance is what you're actually talking. So it's like how I'm talking right now. If you put a camera, this could be seen as a performance. But what distinguishes a scene that can touch you is the emotion that comes behind the scene. So when a writer writes a part, he's actually writing it with that emotion that a character is going through. So for me, it's very important to portray the emotion through that scene, and that is what eventually reaches an audience's heart.
We have time for one last question.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Actually, I wanted to ask you that how did you feel playing your part in the movie Mehendi? It's a very lesser known and talked about movie, but I was a school-going girl. I was, I think, in class 8 or 9, and I was deeply inspired by your role.
That's so
I want you to please tell us something more about it.
Thank you for your question. It's indeed wonderful. Actually, Mehendi is a very special film, and you're absolutely right. I think Mehendi again talks about a woman who's again choosing to stand up for herself and stand up for all the atrocities that are towards her family, because of the age-old tradition and customs that in that film it was dowry, and how a woman is treated and is shown her worth according to what her parents can give in the form of dowry. And I think that was a very important film, and I'm so happy you asked this question. But yes, it was very cringe-worthy at that point of time as well, because there were certain scenes that I was also a very young girl at that point of time, and I was happy to play the character because it empowered me as well to be able to play her. So yeah, it was a very, very inspiring film. Thank you.
तो ये है कि गुलाम हिंदुस्तान विश्व हिंदी टाइम्स से सुरेश शर्मा, आपका गुलाम फिल्म में और विक्रम भट्ट जी को आपकी आवाज़ से क्या प्रॉब्लम हुई थी? क्योंकि आपकी आवाज़ में एक बेस है, आपकी आवाज़ एक ख़ास तरह की है। दूसरी तरह करण जौहर को भी कुछ होता है में आपकी आवाज़ से क्या प्रॉब्लम हुई थी जो डबिंग कराने की ज़रूरत हुई थी गुलाम में और उसमें?
तो पहले तो मैं आपको क्वेश्चन आपका करेक्ट करना चाहती हूँ। कुछ होता है में मेरी आवाज़ डब नहीं हुई थी, तो ये इन्फॉर्मेशन जो आपको मिली है वो गलत मिली है। तो बहुत अच्छा कि आपने सवाल पूछा, क्योंकि एटलीस्ट अभी आप समझ सकते हैं कि कभी कभी आप लोग गलत जा सकते हैं। विक्रम भट्ट, मैं नहीं कहूँगी कि सिर्फ विक्रम भट्ट, लेकिन वो टाइम पे क्योंकि मैं नहीं थी, आई वॉज अ न्यू कमर, मेरी दूसरी फिल्म थी गुलाम, तो उस वक्त जिस तरह के दौर में पिक्चरें बनती थी उस टाइम पे एक्ट्रेसेस की ये आवाज़ नहीं हुआ करती थी। जैसे आपने बोला, बेस तो नहीं कहूँगी कि वो बेबी को बेस पसंद है, लेकिन जैसी मेरी आवाज़ है, अभी मैं एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकती मेरी आवाज़ कैसी है, लेकिन जो है सो है। तो उस वक्त एक उनको लगा था कि क्योंकि ऑडियंस को शायद एक्सेप्ट नहीं होगी, तो उस समय कलेक्टिव डिसीजन था, आमिर ने लिया था, विक्रम भट्ट ने लिया था, मुकेश भट्ट जो प्रोड्यूसर थे उन्होंने कलेक्टिवली डिसीजन लिया था कि शायद ऑडियंस को मेरी आवाज़ पसंद नहीं आएगी, और क्योंकि मैं न्यू कमर थी उनको रिस्क नहीं लेना था। और उसी वक्त करण की पिक्चर भी मैं कर रही थी, कुछ कुछ होता है, तो मुझे अभी भी याद है कि मैं कुछ कुछ होता है, मैं ट्रेलर जो फिल्म का जो टीज़र था जहाँ पे मैं एक वाइट सलवार कमीज़ पहन के झूले पे बैठी हूँ, तो वो ट्रेलर था और मैं वो ट्रेलर का डबिंग करने गई थी। तो करण ने आके मुझसे पूछा कि रानी मैंने सुना है कि गुलाम में आपका वॉइस डब हो रहा है, क्या आपको डबिंग करने में कोई तकलीफ़ है? तो मैंने बोला नहीं करण, मैंने तो अपनी पहली पिक्चर डब की थी राजा की आगे बारात, सिर्फ गुलाम में शायद उनको मेरी आवाज़ पसंद नहीं आ रही है। तो करण ने कहा क्यों, मुझे तो आपकी आवाज़ बहुत पसंद है, आप तो मेरी पिक्चर में डबिंग ज़रूर करोगे। और कुछ कुछ होता है में मेरी ही आवाज़ है। तो मैं करण को भी धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी कि अगर करण भी वही माइंडसेट लेकर आते तो शायद आप तक मेरी आवाज़ नहीं पहुँचती। और मैं आज कह सकती हूँ कि मेरी पहचान मेरी आवाज़ से है। अगर कहीं मैं कोविड के टाइम पे भी मास्क पहन के चली जाऊँ और अगर मैं बात करूँ तो वो पीछे मुड़कर आ जाएंगे कि रानी मुखर्जी है। वी हैव टू लीव ना। मैं जाते जाते आंसर करते जाती हूँ। हाँ बताइए मैं ऐसे जाती हूँ आंसर करते करते।
The movie Ayya makes you closer to the Malayali audience.
Yes.
So I just want to know how was your experience working with our superstar Prithviraj?
Oh, Prithvi is a very dear friend. I really like Prithvi. He was wonderful in Ayya as well, and it was amazing working. I really loved my experience of Ayya, especially working with him. So we must do a Malayalam film soon.
Can we please